I'm definitely excited about this game, man. It's a good test, I think, for Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants, man. You know, we had those 3 victories against subpar competition, including your Washington Commanders, the New England Patriots, the Green Bay Packers, who you've been overhyping a little bit. I think they've came back down to earth here, man. Pretty garbage team, if you ask me, with an inconsistent quarterback. Giants are 5-8. The Saints are 6-7. Kickoff is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't like this, man. Opening line, the Saints are favored by 6. I do not like that. Last meeting, the New York Giants beat the Saints 27-21. That was a big game from Daniel Jones in 2021, and Kenny Galladay's like really his only good game as a New York Giant outside of his last one with Davis Webb against the Philadelphia Eagles when he caught that touchdown in the back of the end zone. Last week, the Saints beat the Panthers in expected fashion, 28-6. The Giants beat the Packers 24-22 on Monday night. The Giants are coming off their first Victory Tuesday in 5 years.
When you said that on the Giant overreaction, I was like, what is going on? The first one ever in the history of Awthentik and The Beard. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, and that's pretty crazy. The last time the Giants had won a Monday night game was in 2018. Shout out to Daniel Jones. Is that a low blow as well?
Yeah, it's a little
Not too bad, right?
Not
Not
like
too
a
bad.
dandelion flower.
That's a beard flower. I like that one time. The Giants lead the series with a record of 17-14, and New York has won 2 of the past 3 versus the Saints. The Giants are on a 3-game winning streak, their longest of the season, their only winning streak of the season. The Saints win versus the Panthers. That snapped a 3-game winning streak for them as well. The Giants right now are in a position where they can possibly make the playoffs. I saw that ESPN had us on under a 1% chance of making the playoffs. This is absolutely a must-win. The Giants are now just 1 game out of the 7th seed, but it's a little tricky here. We're sitting behind 5 teams that have a record of 6-7. Derek Carr, another guy who got a big contract in the offseason. He got paid 40 M's or something like that as well, just like Daniel Jones. He has just 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. He did have 2 touchdowns in Week 14, along with an interception to go with that. He's kind of pushing for a little bit of history here himself. Derek Carr can join Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson as the only quarterbacks ever to have 3,000 or more passing yards in each of their first 10 seasons. So that does show a little bit of consistency from Derek Carr. I know a lot of people been kind of throwing shade at Derek Carr with the way that he's been playing this year with the Saints. But I will say this, new system, I give him the same pass that I would give Russell Wilson, right? You go to Denver, everybody's like, Russell Wilson's washed, man. Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than him. I wouldn't have Russell Wilson in my top 10. Look at the way that Derek Carr was playing football over there with the Raiders when he had John Gruden as his coach. Yep. He was a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He was putting up big numbers. You bring in that, I ain't going to try to go crazy and throw too much shade, but Josh McDaniels. You bring in that other coach, Josh McDaniels. Coach. That dude, he's the only coach to be fired by 2 teams before he could finish out his tenure of 2 seasons.
Should that guy be a head coach?
Never, ever again. Definitely, reap the benefit of having a guy like Tom Brady on the roster one time. But Derek Carr has 2,880 yards on the year, so it's very likely that he's going to get to 3,000 unless he, puts up one of these frail performances where you see him getting, carried off the field. Like we have seen a lot this year. The Giants' offense has been better, but they haven't been that great either. The Giants are only averaging 14.1 points per game, just 152 passing yards per game. But the Giants have averaged 21.7 points per game over the last 3 outings. So big shout out to this guy. He was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Mr. Tommy DeVito. I do think they snubbed Dak Prescott on that one time. Dak Prescott's game last week against the Philadelphia Eagles was absolutely better than what we saw from Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito was 17 of 21. Got to give him his props on that. 81% completion percentage in that game versus the Green Bay Packers, but he only had 158 yards on the day, just 1 touchdown. I thought he could have had another touchdown if Wan'Dale Robinson didn't tackle him at the goal line.
Oh, my God.
That man got the little shake and bake, bro. He did have 71 yards on the ground.
It's funny because every time I saw that highlight, right, the first thing I thought about was when you were talking about how you thought that Tommy, the show before that, I don't know if it was the parlay or the last preview recap show, when you were talking about how in the preseason you were like, you thought Tommy DeVito was like more mobile. Yeah. And then when I see that, I'm like, okay, I see what Awthentik was.
I really don't understand why Giants fans are kind of acting like this is a surprise. I mean, I get it. He was getting sacked a lot when he first came into the game against the Jets the following week and whatnot. But when you saw him in preseason, he absolutely showed you that he could be mobile. On the year, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. DeVito's the first Giants rookie quarterback to win 3 straight since, I was going to use this as trivia tonight, but I figured we'd be moving too fast. You know who it is?
I'm going to say Daniel Jones.
Negative. Shout out to Daniel Jones. It was Phil Simms all the way back in 1979. Now, a big topic of conversation was everybody was talking about how Tommy DeVito was not sacked in this game against the Green Bay Packers. I put out a tweet today that said the reason why the New York Giants were not sacked at all in that game was because of Tommy DeVito. A lot of people took that as like shade towards the offensive line. What I was trying to describe there and explain is that the reason why we had absolutely 0 sacks is because of Tommy DeVito. The offensive line, they played okay. People are trying to overinflate it because they want to protect Daniel Jones. I get it. These people are dying on that mountain. They still think that we got faith and hope in Daniel Jones, where I'm looking at it like the New York Giants absolutely got to draft a quarterback. There were situations in that game where Tommy DeVito was absolutely dead to rights and should have been sacked, and he found ways to get out of pressure. And sometimes he made throws down the fields, and other times he ran with his legs and made plays happen like that. The Green Bay Packers absolutely played the read option in a pathetic fashion in that game, okay? I looked at the quarterback school's breakdown on this. He said he ain't seen nothing like that since he was coaching high school football. Okay, the way that their defensive ends were just crashing in on the run and giving Tommy DeVito the easy out to be able to run and get yards, 5 yards, 10 yards of grass before even seeing one defender. And one thing about Tommy DeVito, he's a tough kid, man. This dude was taking some hits, getting right back up. I like what I'm seeing out of this kid, playing with a lot of moxie, playing with a lot of swag. Now, Daniel Jones on the season, and however many games he played, he was pressured on 45.5% of his dropbacks. People are saying, you know, this offensive line that Tommy DeVito's playing with is better. They're gelling better. You know, this is a different unit. We saw 5 years of Daniel Jones with I don't even know how many combinations of a different offensive line. Keep that 45.5% in your mind. Tommy DeVito in the game against the Green Bay Packers, although he was sacked 0 times, he was pressured on 48.1% of his 27 dropbacks. He was 80% and had 71 yards on the ground. This dude is the first undrafted free agent with a passer rating over 103 straight games, okay? DeVito can become the third rookie in NFL history with 0 interceptions. I love that number. And a passer rating of 100 or more in 4 straight games, joining the same 2 quarterbacks I talked about before, Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson. So we know when it comes to guys drafted in the late round or guys that were undrafted, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, those are probably the only guys that we can actually really talk about. I'm hyped that Tommy DeVito has been playing some good football, right? But these people that are waking up after the Green Bay game, I get it, Victory Tuesday, I get all of this, right? You know, we were talking about this today. Could you imagine if, like, this Tommy Cutlets was a black quarterback and we were talking about some Popeye's chicken? Now, that would be kind of crazy, right? But Tommy DeVito, he's been playing some good football. There are people that are throwing around, I think we got our franchise quarterback. I just say this. I don't think that it's an impossible thing that Tommy DeVito could not turn into a franchise quarterback. But you know me, I've told you this a bunch on this channel. I assess things in a rational type of way. And when I look at what's happening right now, he's 3-1 as a starter, 4 games in. The dude's an undrafted rookie free agent for a reason. He was cut by the Giants earlier on in this season, okay? They brought him back. I would just tell fans, and listen, it's just advice. You can take it or you can leave it. Pump the brakes on the franchise talk. We have a quarterback on the roster that is due $90 million guaranteed, okay? His dead cap hit, and it's not funny. I promise you it's not funny because they screwed up this contract, bro. His dead cap hit is $69 million next year. There is absolutely no way. I give you it's a 99.8% chance that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter next year for the New York Giants because what are you going to do? Are you going to put $70 million damn near on the bench? And people are saying, well, they did it with Kenny Galladay. That's very different money.
He's a wide receiver, too.
He's a wide receiver, but Kenny Galladay was owed $19 million a year, and they did not give him that contract. Dave Gettleman gave him that contract to actually put Cam Newton on the bench for not wearing a tie. Dave Gettleman, I'm so glad you were gone. I got much more faith in Joe Shane. The last thing I'll say before I kick this over to you, and I do want to get to some keys to victory. I'll do that after you break it down a little bit here. These defenses are so parallel, so evenly matched. Both of these teams got 23 sacks each on the year. Both of these teams have 22 takeaways. Both of these teams are allowing right around 130 yards rushing per game. This matchup's going to come down to whose offense is better. I think that Tommy DeVito can put up a good fight. You talked about a lot of the injuries that the Saints had coming in the last week. It's all about Alvin Kamara for sure with the Saints. Rashid Shaheed, maybe they get him back this week. We'll see. What are your thoughts on this game, though, bro?
I mean, I almost want to call him Tommy Heineke or Taylor DeVito.
Thomas Heineke. Taylor
Because-
DeVito.
because this is what listen. I lived this already with Taylor.
No.
Heineke.
Don't you
What-
do that.
What?
Let me tell you why.
Why?
My man Tommy don't turn the ball over.
No, he doesn't. And
This ain't
listen,
Taylor turnovers. This is Tommy DeVito. All right?
But it's the fan base sort of reaction that
Yeah.
because that was
Yeah, because
that
you
was
were a hater on
literally-
Taylor Heineke.
That was literally like the thing, which is like, oh, we got Taylor Heineke, the franchise quarterback. I mean, I had heated debates about that. But listen, it's funny you said that about Tommy DeVito on the turnovers, because to me, this game's going to come down to turnovers, right? I know you guys played the Washington Commanders, but listen, 3-game winning streak, right? You're on a 3-game winning streak for the New York Giants. That's what it is, right? You have forced 12 turnovers in this 3-game winning streak, okay? You've only turned the ball over 3 times. That is a +9 turnover differential. New Orleans, 7 turnovers in their last 4 games. And I said 4 instead of 3 because the last game they played was the Carolina Panthers, okay?
Was the 6 turnovers are included in that versus y'all, right?
It is.
That was the second game, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it is included in that. So, the Saints defense has been they have not been playing well lately, but they have the potential to be a good defense, obviously. We've seen them perform at good level of defensively throughout the course of this season, specifically early on in the year, obviously. But their last 4 games, they're giving up 22.5 points per game, okay? So I think that, this Saints team is going in the opposite direction of the Giants team. So it's a great time for the Giants to take on the Saints if you're a Giants fan. That turnover differential +9 in 3 games is crazy. Like, I wish my Commanders could have something like that. We're the worst turnover differential team in the National Football League. But like this is how they're winning the games right now, because it's nothing crazy, right? Tommy DeVito's not going up there throwing for 400 yards and all this and that, right? But they're doing what they need to do to win games, and that's forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over. So if they can find a way to take advantage of this New Orleans Saints defense that is not performing very well right now, and let's say you said they're averaging, 21 points per game over the last 3 games?
Yeah, the Giants are, yep.
And the Saints are giving up 22.5 over the last 4. So the recipe is there right now for the Giants to take this game. If they can continue to play the same way that they've been playing over the last 3 games during this win streak, they should be able to win this game. And the last thing I'll touch on is I didn't even have anything else next to it. I just put Kamara. Because we talked about Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, right? I'm a big Carr guy. I believe in Carr. I think he's a good quarterback. I've always liked the way that he plays. I think he has a skill set and everything, right? But to be perfectly honest with you, Alvin Kamara, and nothing against Chris Olave, and we're both big, we love Rashid Shaheed. He's just a guy that just jumps off the screen when he's playing football, right? And I think that's the type of football players that we love. We love a guy that just jumps off the screen to you. But Alvin Kamara is just everything for this Saints offense. So you have to have a game plan for Alvin Kamara. I do think this is a game that the New York Football Giants can win. And obviously I'll give you my score after we go through a little bit of keys to victories with Mr. Awthentik.
I like it, man. Yeah, I do think this is a very winnable game. You made some really good points about Alvin Kamara. I think it's going to start with Tommy DeVito, though, before I get to Alvin Kamara. You got to keep doing what you've been doing, Tommy. Take care of that ball. Be decisive. Yo, so many people on my Twitter have just been telling me about that quote almost on a daily basis, man. A decisive quarterback is the best offensive lineman. Y'all know what it is. He was not sacked against the Green Bay Packers. Keep evading pressure the way you've been doing it. The kid is playing extremely confident football, and we don't want that confidence to get knocked. He's the reason why we were allowed, 0 sacks against Green Bay as well. The Saints defense now, they're much better against the pass than they are against the run. I believe they're top 13 defense in the NFL right now when it comes to defending the pass, but against the run, they're a little bit worse. So I think the second key to victory is going to be committing to Saquon in all aspects, in the pass attack, in the rush attack. Right now, Barkley, surprisingly, is 11th in the NFL in rushing yards with 783 yards. He's averaging 4.23 yards per carry. He's coming off 101 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns versus Green Bay. He's got to thank Tommy DeVito not only for one of those touchdowns, but Tommy DeVito came over to Saquon Barkley after the fumble, and he told Saquon, don't you worry about it, because Saquon, they were showing him on the screen. He was looking extremely dejected. Tommy DeVito said, we're going to go down here, we're going to win this game. That's some real Johnny Moxon type stuff right there. I love seeing that. And the quarterback has to be the guy to do that. And you got to be willing to die on that. Even if you go out there and you don't win the game, you got to be able to go out there and tell your players, we're going to go out here, we're going to win this game. It was just his third career game with 2 rushing touchdowns. I thought that was the most surprising stat I've heard about Saquon Barkley. He's only had 3 career games with 2 rushing touchdowns. Couldn't believe it. Saquon needs 34 scrimmage yards for his 4th career 1,000 yard season with 1,000 scrimmage yards as well. He has the 6th most explosive plays of 10 yards or more in the NFL right now with 20. He's got 90 scrimmage yards in 6 of his last 7 road games, and also had 126 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns in the last matchup against the Saints. I don't know if you remember that wheel route that he ran that one time. That was super dope. So RTDB is a must in this game. Over the last 3 games, the Saints are allowing an NFL high right now, 191 yards rushing per game in their last 3 games. We got to keep eating off that. Now, if you saw the game on Monday night, you know that Wan'Dale Robinson was the X factor last week. Let's run it back. I think the Giants are really good at running it back. They've done it in a yearly type of fashion. Let's do it on a weekly type of fashion here. Wan'Dale had 6 receptions on 7 targets, 79 yards. He had 2 rushes. I love how they were using him as a running back in that game. He had 36 yards on the ground as well. Now, 115 scrimmage yards for Wan'Dale Robinson was a career high. He had the big game last year when he tore his ACL. I think that was against the Detroit Lions as well. And the huge catch to set up the game-winning field goal for Wan'Dale Robinson. If you get a chance, bro, and anybody in the chat, take a look at the all-22 of Wan'Dale Robinson on that route. First of all, the Green Bay Packers defense, I don't know what their defensive coordinator was doing on that because the middle of the field is wide open on that play. Wan'Dale Robinson could have had a choice route on that. He could have went inside on a slant route, or he could have went outside. This man straight up shook that defender out his boots on that play. And he ran a 7 route like I've never really seen anybody run a 7 route. Like when we get back out there on the 2-hand touch vibes, I'm definitely stealing some Wan'Dale Robinson route running techniques, bro. Like most definitely, okay? Because this route, he literally, like the way he just shake and baked, it almost looked like Allen Iverson on Michael Jordan at the top of the key. It was very similar to something like that. Now, 4th, we need another high-level performance from this defense. The Beard talked about Kamara. Do not let him wreck this game. He's averaging just 3.9 yards per carry right now. But he's got 63 receptions, and there's like 4 games left on the season for 402 yards. I need Kayvon to step up in this game again. You know, Kayvon, 11.5 sacks on the season. He's looking for his 3rd game in a row with a forced fumble. So not only is Kayvon getting after the quarterback, he's getting the ball out of these people's hands, and that's a great thing. PFF graded Dexter Lawrence as the best defensive lineman in the league right now. Y'all already know what Dexter does. I won't call him by his nickname because that just ain't my kind of swag. So you're not going to hear that nickname too much over here on Awthentik and The Beard, at least coming from Awthentik. Bobby Okereke, probably Joe Shane's best acquisition in the offseason. A lot of people were hype on Darren Waller. Bobby Okereke comes in here. He's the only player in the entire league right now with 100 or more tackles, 9 TFLs or more, and 8 PBUs. The only player in the entire NFL. He's got 119 tackles. Deonte Banks, dude been balling out. Had a career high last week, 12 tackles. He's also one of 2 rookies right now to have 12 PBUs on the year. Jason Pinnock. These 2 young players are out there doing damage for the New York Giants secondary. And I think that free safety position or the opposite safety position, however you want to look at it, because we know Wink Martindale has the positionless defense opposite of Xavier McKinney. This dude, Jason Pinnock, has been balling out. He literally saved the game for us. I know that Tommy DeVito did end up going down and scoring or getting us, in scoring range to kick the field goal. But the play in the end zone from Jason Pinnock, the breakup on the sidelines from Deonte Banks. Shout out to the Maryland alumni one time, man. Shout out to Coach Loxley one time. I was just working with Chaz. We was just talking about Deonte Banks, man. So big shout out to Coach Loxley, man, for helping develop a player like this, coming into the league with incredible swag to start the year. I love this Wink Martindale defense, this young defense, the youngest defense in the entire league right now, average age of 25 and a half. And the Giants, they forced 3 turnovers last week versus the Green Bay Packers. They have 14. You talked about 12. They got 14 in the last 4 games. So they've been definitely helping Tommy DeVito do what he does. And Tommy DeVito and this offense have been helping the New York Giants defense. I've talked about this week in and week out. If you get a decent performance from that offense, the defense is going to come up and they're going to definitely show out. I think this last key to victory is not absolutely necessary, especially if we get the first 4 in line. But one big play from Jalen Hyatt would be nice. Yeah. Hyatt right now, he's averaging a ton of yards per catch. He's 13th in the NFL in average yards per reception at 18.1. Just 3 targets last week. And I know the drop on the first play of the game, I'm sure that got with his confidence a little bit. You know, there's these gloves, man. They're called cutters. Those are the best gloves. I used to wear them joints out, man. Them things is like, you remember when Hans Hanen put the stickies, the stick 'em on the hands, bro?
Say that.
It was like that, bro. I could just palm catch like no problem. You know what the hands were. You got some hands too. I give you that, but you know what the hands was like out there one time. He got to get them cutters once. He got to get them cutters, right? Don't be catching like this. Catch like this. All right, that's where it is. Shout out to The Rock one time. We don't need a 5-reception, 109 performance like he did against the Patriots, but one big play would be nice. And if it's not him, I want to see Darius Slayton involved in this game plan a little bit more as well. Paris Campbell, he ain't been nowhere. He's probably out of here. Sterling Shepard, he ain't been nowhere. He's probably out of here. So we want one of these young guys to step up. And I think the New York Giants can win this game. I want to say this too. In the beginning of the year, I'd picked, most of these games right when we did the prediction at the beginning of the year. But throughout the year, when these injuries have came in, there have been times where I've doubted this team. And last week against the Green Bay Packers was one of them. So y'all know me. I'm always willing to call myself out. I thought the Green Bay Packers was going to go out there and win that game by 2 scores. That did not happen. The way that Tommy DeVito's playing football right now, if he could continue to play ball like that, take care of the ball, and the rest of this team, including this defense, can feed off of that, I'm going New York Giants, man. It's good to be back in the saddle and have a little bit of faith in my team and know that they can go out there and have a possibility of winning these games. Team tank, we got to ball that up and throw that away. I trust Joe Shane to go out here and get the quarterback. Kobe, I definitely trust him to go get the quarterback. Whether we're picking 32nd and win the Super Bowl, whatever it is, we picking 20th, 15th, 10th, whatever, Joe Shane, go out there, go get us that quarterback. We can't leave this draft without a quarterback. But right now, we know we got a guy on the roster who can at least give us a shot at winning some games. I'm taking the New York Giants in a pretty close game. The Saints have not scored a lot of points in the last couple of games here. I'm going to take the Giants in this one. I'm going to go 23-20 New York Giants.
I am going to double down. I am also taking the New York Football Giants to win this game by a final score of 20-17.
I like it. 3-point win for both of us. Let's get this one from the homie one time, Brother L.
Big shout out to Brother L with the $4.99 super chat. Says Awthentik, I told you them Giants would rack up some wins. What a time to be alive when a Cowboys fan has faith in that New York team. Hashtag pigs are flying.
I don't know if that's a shot at you one time. Hogs. What's the name of y'all mascot? Tutty?
Listen, I don't acknowledge that mascot.
Yeah, we got to do something about that. The suit kind of loose. It's kind of
Teddy or Sergeant Teddy.
Sergeant Teddy.
I don't know what it is.
What was the homie with no legs in Forrest Gump? Lieutenant Dan. That should be y'all mascot right there. I like that. I like that. It should be Lieutenant Dan.